Good morning. So yeah, I'm on the commute again in the morning. It's now, I don't know, it's 7:30 a.m. A little bit later again than usual. Google Maps said the traffic was a bit lighter than normal, so I'm quite happy with that. And taking a little bit easy. It's a Wednesday. No, I don't know. Is it a hump or is it a trough? I don't know. I get the feeling it's more of a trough. And it's going to be uphill all the way to the end of the week, but we'll see. So I took a small detour when I left the house to Parcel Motel, my local storage for my parcels. A couple of items had arrived. I got paged quite late yesterday evening that they were in the Parcel Motel, and so it's quite handy for me on the commute. I can just do a little bit of a U-turn or whatever and swing by and pick them up. If I'm honest, they're not what I was expecting. I've ordered quite a few choice items over the last while, and it's I'm quite is it a power user or I don't know, a big user of Amazon and of other websites and of Parcel Motel. So there's never any consistency really with when things arrive. Some things arrive very quickly and some don't. So a couple of items that I definitely ordered anyway, but yeah, I wasn't expecting today. But yeah, so maybe it's a surprise, maybe not so a pleasant one, but it's alright. So for me to go to the Parcel Motel, I actually go the wrong way. I actually go to the commute, that is, not on the road. So I'm actually heading away from Dublin for a short stretch. I go into the petrol station, added a bit of water, filled up the diesel as well whilst I was there. I was pretty low, and that was a bit of a sore point for me because the computer said I had less than 6 kilometres left, which wouldn't have got me to work. But when I put the fuel in, I know it's a 70-litre tank, and I could only squeeze 65.5 litres. I mean, that's nearly a gallon spare. So that's a little bit much. So you could argue that's reserve, but it's actually 70 litres plus reserve. So, it doesn't matter now. I just fill it up. I'm not going to notice what it costs to fill it up anyway. So, and I got a cheeky bottle of water as well. Feeling a bit thirsty today. Now, I normally have a coffee in the couch I do today, but I think if you've got a thirst, you can't really beat water. Although it's a bit bland if you drink too much of it. So, coming out of the petrol station, it was quite interesting. So basically, as I come out of the petrol station, I'm obviously still going the wrong way, heading away from Dublin. So I get to the first set of traffic lights and there's a turn right filter, turn right with a green light as well. So I do like a U-turn there. It's perfectly legal. It's not prohibited. So I sat there for a few moments whilst it was on red, which is fine. There was a car in front of me, overshot the line a little bit, but I think there's like a buffer zone. Maybe the driver in front misunderstood where he was meant to stop, but hey, it was fine. So it was on red for a short while, and the light turns to green. He turns right, and I then start to initiate the U-turn. And it's quite a big car. The turning circle isn't the smallest. It's not the greatest either. I've had much worse cars, but this. So I was initiating the U-turn. And I pretty much completed it when right in front of me, headed towards me, was a wagon. And he looked everywhere apart from in front where he was actually heading, which I think is quite an interesting driving technique, but I didn't think he expected somebody to do a U-turn. So he just looked the last second, just before he ploughed into me, and stopped. So I think that was the best outcome for both of us. I think he probably would have come off better than me. I have got quite a few crumple zones in the car, so I would have been protected, I think. I don't think I would have been killed or even injured. It would have been quite a shock, though. It's always a shock when you have a car crash, and I've had a few over the years. But luckily, he just, this split second, he looked where he was travelling, and he saw me, and he stopped. Now, I was going at a bit of rate of knots, but I was in that position where I was committed to the turn. So stopping would have been a disaster. So, boom, there it was. The 535, the 3-litre twin-turbo engine. I accelerated. Now, I'd like to think accelerated out of trouble, but I certainly hadn't accelerated into trouble, if you get what I mean. So I think that was another sort of simple example, though, of the BMW and this 3-litre diesel engine that I seem to talk about an awful lot. Maybe drawn on a little bit too much about it, but yeah. So it was quite close. And as I was executing the U-turn, I did for a moment think, well, there's nothing I can do here except accelerate. Hopefully that's good enough. And look, it was, because he did see me in the nick of time and came to an abrupt stop just before hitting me, at which point I had accelerated away. I'm sort of glad that he was driving a wagon, because he couldn't catch up to me then. I would have been quite embarrassed at the traffic lights if he'd come alongside, because I'm sure he would have thought it was my fault. I think that's a natural reaction, when obviously it was his fault. And I don't like any altercations really. I get a bit stressed over all that sort of thing. I'm not into the physical thing as well, and I've seen people waving their fists at me. I've seen people shouting at me. I've had police shouting at me, which is quite interesting. But all sorts of little things like that, and I think it's unnecessary. I think people get very het up sometimes at things, and in this particular scenario, it wouldn't have been warranted for them to be angry at me. So I'm on the M50 today. It was very interesting that Google Maps told me it was actually quite a nice little commute on the M50 today. Sometimes it wants me to do the suburban route, which I do try and avoid because there's more effort, there's more stopping and starting and general interaction with other drivers. You're probably aware, if you're not, you will be, I suppose, at some point, that I don't like too much interaction with the general public, and obviously by extension, general public in cars. I don't really want to be, I don't really want any interaction there either, if I can help it. So I'm on the M50, and it's gone slow because I'm behind a wagon, and there's a whole queue of us here going, the junction's coming up, let's not rock the boat, let's not go around this wagon. We're all in this commuter daze where we're a little bit, he's going the same direction as well, how unlucky is that? We're in this commuter daze where we just want to get there. We're not really going to do anything fancy. There'll be no, lane changing, fast accelerations and high speeds. Let's just get to work, and get there in one piece with as little hassle as possible. So I'm just looking at the wagon in front of me, and it's got one of those little cranes on it as well, and from here it looks like metal, like a box section, like a floor system of some sort, maybe, in long sheets. I suppose everything these days is modular. I think a bit like a Lego set, and you can just clip everything together. Maybe the odd screw here, the odd screw there, maybe a minimal bit of welding. But looking at this section in front, I think it's some sort of flooring system, a lightweight box section. And I'm actually very pleased to say he's not going all the way with me, so he's actually turning away from where I'm going, and I'm now headed down towards Dundrum, the infamous Dundrum Town Centre shopping centre. Weather today is it's quite nice. It's a little bit grey. It's more sunny than grey. The cloud, there's a nice bit of cloud there, and when I mean by nice, I think I've probably said before, it's nice to give it a heat in. I just hope it's not as sticky as it has been the last few days, because it's not nice to be hot and sticky all the time. So